My son said, "Whether you like it or not, I'm putting you in a nursing home." I smiled, packed my things, and left. What he didn't know was that I'd already planned everything. By the end of the day, he'd regret his arrogance. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up. The thing about betrayal is that you always see it coming. You just don't want to believe it. For weeks, maybe months, Eric had been circling me like a vulture sizing up roadkill. The visits got shorter. The phone calls disappeared. When he did show up at my apartment above the hardware store on Maple Street, he'd spend the whole time checking his watch and glancing at his phone, like my existence was an inconvenience he couldn't wait to escape. I'm Frank Mallory, 62 years old, retired literature teacher, widower for 8 years, father to one son who'd grown into a stranger wearing my last name. That morning in March, Eric came by without calling first. I was reading Steinbeck at the kitchen table, nursing my second coffee, when I heard his key in the lock. "Dad," he said, not even a hello. He was wearing one of those suits that cost more than my monthly pension. His hair was gelled back, making him look older than 34. "We need to talk." I marked my page. "Coffee?" "No. This won't take long." He sat across from me, hands folded like he was about to fire an employee. "I've been looking at assisted living facilities. There's a nice one in Portland. Clean, good staff, 3 meals a day." "I'm not hungry," I said. He ignored that. "You're not getting any younger. This apartment, the stairs, it's not safe. What if you fall? What if something happens and nobody finds you for days?" "Then I'd have peace and quiet," I said. "Sounds nice." His jaw tightened. That's when I knew this wasn't about my safety. This was about him wanting something. The apartment, probably. Prime real estate in a town where waterfront property was gold. He and that new wife of his, Lena, were probably already measuring for curtains. "I'm serious," he said. "I've already made arrangements. They have an opening next month. You'll like it there. Activities, people your own age." "Dad." He stood up, pacing now, the way he did when he was losing patience. "I'm trying to help you. You live alone. You barely leave this place. It's not healthy." "I leave plenty," I said. "Just not when you're watching." He stopped pacing, looked at me with those cold eyes he'd inherited from me, but filled with someone else's contempt. "Whether you like it or not, I'm putting you in a nursing home. I've talked to a lawyer. You're not incompetent, but you're not making good decisions either. The lease here expires in 2 months. I'm not renewing it." There it was, the truth beneath the concern. He owned the building, bought it 3 years ago as an investment property, kept me here at a discount rate because it looked good, the dutiful son taking care of his aging father. Now the theatre was over. I smiled. I actually smiled, and that seemed to unnerve him more than anything I could have said. "What's funny?" he asked. "Nothing." I stood up, walked to my bedroom. "Give me an hour to pack." "Dad, wait. We don't have to do this today. I just wanted to give you time to adjust to the idea." "No need," I called back. "You made yourself clear." I heard him standing there in my kitchen, probably confused. Good. Let him wonder. I pulled out the old duffel bag from the closet, the one I'd used when I was younger and still believed the world was fair. Started folding clothes with the careful precision I'd taught myself in college, when money was tight and presentation mattered. Eric appeared in the doorway. "Where will you go?" "I'll figure it out," I said. "I'm not incompetent, remember? Just not making good decisions." "Dad." "Eric." I stopped packing, looked at him directly. "You want this apartment? Fine, it's yours. You want to pretend this is about my well-being? Fine. Tell yourself whatever helps you sleep. But don't stand there expecting me to thank you for it." His face went red. "That's not fair." "Fair," I laughed, one short bark. "You know what's not fair. Raising a kid alone after his mother died, working 2 jobs to pay for his college, sitting in an empty house for 8 years, waiting for a phone call that never comes unless you need something, and then being told I'm the problem. That I'm the one who needs to be managed and put away. I didn't mean it like that. Yes, you did. I went back to packing. But it's fine. Really, you've made your choice. Now I'll make mine. He stood there another moment, maybe wanting to apologize, maybe just wanting to feel less guilty. Then his phone buzzed. He glanced at it. Lena's name, probably. The woman who'd convinced him that his old man was an embarrassment to their new life. I'll check on you, he said. Don't bother. He left. I heard his footsteps on the stairs, the heavy door closing below. Then silence. I finished packing. Not everything, just what I needed. Then I sat on the bed and pulled out the phone number I'd kept hidden in my wallet for 3 years. A number I swore I'd never use unless things got desperate. Things were desperate. I dialed. He picked up on the second ring. Howie, I said. It's Frank. I need a favor. Name it, he said, because that's the kind of friend he was. I need a place to stay, and I need information on my son. A pause. Then, give me his full name and address. I'll call you back in an hour. Thanks. Frank, whatever this is, you sure? I thought about Eric's face, the coldness. I'm sure, I said. I hung up, looked around the apartment one last time. 40 years of life in this town. 30 years of teaching Shakespeare and Faulkner to kids who mostly didn't care. 8 years of grieving. One son who'd stopped calling me dad and started calling me a problem. The wedding invitation was on the counter. It had arrived 2 weeks ago. Fancy cardstock, embossed lettering. Eric and Lena's seaside ceremony. 200 guests. Black tie optional. RSVP by April 1st. I picked it up, stared at it. Then I smiled again, the way a wolf smiles before it shows its teeth. They wanted a celebration. Fine. I'd give them something to remember. Before we go any further, hit the hype button, take a second to subscribe, and like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And tell us in the comments, what would you do in this situation? Howard Pierce lived in a cabin 10 miles outside town, hidden down a dirt road that most people forgot existed. He'd moved there after retiring from the Portland Police Department 15 years back, and in that time, he'd mastered the art of being invisible, which was impressive for a man who stood 6'4" and had hands that could crush walnuts. I drove out there in my old pickup, the one Eric had once offered to replace with something safer. The road was muddy from spring rain, and by the time I pulled up to Howie's place, my truck looked like it had been dipped in chocolate. He was waiting on the porch, coffee in one hand, cigarette in the other, even though he'd quit smoking 20 years ago. Some habits you don't quit, you just pretend to. Frank, he said, nodding. Howie. We stood there a moment, the way old friends do when words aren't necessary. Then he gestured inside. The cabin was exactly what you'd expect. Wood paneling, stone fireplace, books everywhere, a police scanner on the shelf, unplugged but still present, like a retired cop's security blanket. The place smelled like coffee and old paper. Got your information, Howie said, pulling out a folder. Wasn't hard. Your boy's not exactly subtle. He spread papers across the kitchen table. Bank statements, property records, business filings, things that shouldn't have been accessible to a retired cop, but Howie had friends in places that mattered. Eric Mallory, Howie read, financial advisor at Coastal Wealth Management, makes good money, real good, but he's spending more than he makes. The house, I said, 4-bedroom colonial on Shore Road, bought it 8 months ago, $3.2 million. Mortgage is crushing him. He's also got the building where you've been living, 2 rental properties in Brunswick, a boat, and a wife who likes expensive things. I looked at the pictures. Eric's house, modern, glass and steel. The kind of place that looked impressive in magazines and soulless in person. He's overextended, I said, severely. Howie tapped a bank statement. He's been moving money around, not illegal, but creative, using one property's equity to finance another. robbing Peter to pay Paul. One market downturn and his whole empire collapses. Why is he doing this? Howie shrugged. Same reason anyone does. Ego, status. Maybe he's trying to prove something, to himself, to that wife. Tell me about her. Howie flipped to another page. A photograph. Lena, 29, blonde, beautiful in that manufactured way that required effort and money. She was smiling in the picture, but her eyes were calculating. Lena Hartwick, now Mallory. Comes from money, old Boston family. Daddy's in real estate development. She met Eric at some charity function 2 years ago. Married him 6 months later. Fast, I said. Love, Howie said, with enough sarcasm to fill a bucket. Or convenience. Her family's money is tied up in trusts. She can't touch it until she's 35 unless she's married. Daddy's rules. I understood immediately. Eric wasn't just a husband, he was a loophole. So she's using him. Maybe, or maybe they're using each other. Either way, they're drowning in debt and pretending they're not. I sat back, absorbed the information. Eric had built his life on quicksand, and he was trying to stay afloat by throwing his old man overboard. The wedding, I said. When is it? April 23rd. 3 weeks. Seaside resort. 200 guests. Cost him $60,000, and that's after Daddy Hartwick chipped in. $60,000 for one day. Meanwhile, Eric couldn't be bothered to spend an hour visiting his father. I need to be there, I said. Howie looked at me, really looked. We'd known each other since high school, through the lonely years after. He knew what I was thinking before I said it. Frank, whatever you're planning. I'm not planning anything, I said. I just want to attend my son's wedding. Bull, I smiled. Okay, maybe I'm planning something, but nothing illegal, nothing violent, just consequences. Consequences. Howie stubbed out his invisible cigarette. That's a word that can mean a lot of things. It means I'm tired of being invisible, tired of being inconvenient, tired of my son treating me like I'm already in the ground. I leaned forward. I raised him alone, Howie. After Sarah died, I was everything. Teacher, coach, nurse, friend. I went to every game, every parent-teacher conference. I taught him how to drive, how to shave, how to be a man. And now he can't even look me in the eye when he's discarding me. Howie was quiet. Then he said, What do you need? A place to stay, just until I figure things out. You can stay here. Guest room's yours. Thanks. And I need you at the wedding. He raised an eyebrow. Me? You, in person, when I say so. Frank, you owe me, I said quietly. That stopped him, because it was true. 18 years ago, Eric had gotten into trouble. Nothing serious, just teenage stupidity, vandalism, trespassing. But the property owner wanted to press charges, and Eric was 17. One more year and it would have been his adult record. Howie had made it disappear, called in favors, talked to the right people, kept my son's future clean. I'd never asked for repayment, until now. You're really doing this, Howie said. I'm really doing this. He stared at me. Then he nodded once. All right, but Frank, be careful. Revenge has a way of eating people alive. I'm not looking for revenge, I said. I'm looking for justice. What's the difference? Revenge is personal. Justice is public. He smiled then. A small, dangerous smile. You sound like a teacher. I was a teacher. Now I'm just a father who's tired of being patient. I spent the next 3 weeks at Howie's cabin planning. Not elaborate schemes or complicated plots. Just simple, methodical preparation. The kind you do when you've spent 30 years teaching teenagers to analyze text and think critically. I called Eric once, told him I'd found a place to stay, didn't tell him where. He sounded relieved, which told me everything. I RSVP'd to the wedding. Just me. No +1. And I waited. The Ocean View Resort was exactly the kind of place that charged $500 a night and called it reasonable. White columns, manicured lawns, a view of the Atlantic that looked like a postcard, valet parking, string quartet playing Vivaldi in the lobby. I arrived in my truck, still mud-stained, still 20 years old. "I'll park it myself," I said, and did. Inside, the wedding was already underway. The ceremony part was over. This was the reception. 200 people in expensive clothes, drinking expensive wine, pretending they all liked each other. I recognized maybe 10 faces. The rest were strangers. Lena's people, probably. Boston society types who measured worth in stock portfolios and country club memberships. Eric spotted me immediately. His face went through 3 expressions in 2 seconds. Surprise, annoyance, fear, good. He excused himself from a conversation and walked over. Lena was at his side, her hand on his arm like a leash. "Dad," Eric said, "you came." "You invited me," I said. "I didn't think you'd actually—" He stopped himself, smiled, the fake one he used with clients. "I'm glad you're here." "Liar." Lena extended her hand. "Frank, so nice to finally meet you properly. Eric's told me so much about you." Her handshake was limp, practiced. She was smiling, but her eyes were already dismissing me. I was wearing my only suit, the one I'd bought for Sarah's funeral. It was outdated, ill-fitting. I looked exactly like what I was, an old man who didn't belong. Perfect. "Congratulations," I said. "Beautiful ceremony." "Thank you." She glanced at Eric. Some silent communication passed between them. Then she said, "Eric mentioned you've moved recently. How are you settling in?" "Fine," I said. "Found a nice place. Quiet." "That's good." She was already looking past me, scanning the room, calculating who was more important to talk to. "Well, we should circulate. So many guests. But please, enjoy yourself. The bar's open." They started to leave. I said, "Actually, Eric, before you go, I wanted to give you my gift." He turned back. "Dad, you didn't have to." "I insist." I reached into my jacket pocket, pulled out an envelope, plain white, nothing fancy, handed it to him. He opened it. Inside was a single key. "What's this?" he asked. "The apartment key. You wanted it. It's yours." Silence. Lena looked at the key, then at me. Something shifted in her expression. "Dad, I told you. You didn't have to move out so fast." "Yes, I did." I smiled. "You made yourself clear. The lease expires next month. I'm just saving you the trouble of evicting me." "That's not—" "It's fine, Eric, really. You won your house, your life, your success. I'm just an old man who doesn't fit in anymore." "I understand." People were starting to look. Not obviously, just glances. The way people do when they sense drama, but want to pretend they're not interested. Lena's grip tightened on Eric's arm. "Frank, that's not what Eric meant. He was just concerned about your safety." "Was he?" I looked at her. Really looked. She flinched slightly. Funny how concern looks a lot like convenience. "Dad." "Enjoy your party," I said. I walked away before he could respond. Found a table in the back, sat down, waited. The reception continued. Speeches, toasts. The best man told jokes that weren't funny. The maid of honor cried. Eric and Lena danced to some song I didn't recognize. They looked perfect together, like a magazine spread. 2 beautiful people playing at happiness. I sipped water and watched. Around 9 o'clock, Lena approached my table. Alone this time. Eric was across the room, trapped in conversation with what looked like Lena's father, a tall man with silver hair and a face that had forgotten how to smile. "Frank," Lena said, sitting down without asking, "can we talk?" "We're talking now." "About the apartment. Eric feels terrible about how that conversation went." "Does he?" "He does. He was just worried. You living alone at your age. It scared him. I set down my glass. I'm 62, not 90. I walk 3 miles a day. I read, I cook. I don't need to be managed. I understand, but Eric loves you. He wants what's best for you. He wants what's easiest for him. Her smile faltered, just a fraction. But I saw it. That's not fair. Fair. I leaned back. You know, Lena, I taught literature for 30 years. You learn things, about stories, about people. And one thing I learned is that everyone's the hero of their own story, even when they're not. What's that supposed to mean? It means Eric thinks he's helping me. You think you're supporting your husband. But what you're really doing is erasing someone who's inconvenient, someone who doesn't fit the image you're trying to project. She stood up. The smile was gone now. You don't know me. No, but I know my son. I know who he was before you, and I know who he's become since. He's successful, happy. That threatens you. What threatens me, I said quietly, is that he's becoming someone I don't recognize, and you're helping him do it. She stared at me. Then she said, Eric was right. You are bitter. Maybe, but at least I'm honest about it. She walked away, rejoined Eric. I saw them talking. His face darkened. He glanced at me. I smiled, raised my glass in a mock toast. He looked away. 10 o'clock. The party was winding down. Older guests were leaving. The younger ones were getting louder, drunker. Eric and Lena were by the gift table, opening cards, pretending to be grateful. That's when Lena did something I didn't expect. She walked back over. No smile this time, just cold determination. I want the apartment keys, she said. I gave them to Eric. No, your copies, all of them. I looked up at her. Why? Because that's our property now. We're renovating. We need access. Renovating, I stood up. We were the same height, eye to eye. You mean erasing? Anything left of me in that place? My wife's pictures, my books, my life. It's just an apartment. It's my home. Not anymore. She held out her hand, expectant, entitled, and that's when something inside me shifted. Not anger, not rage. Something colder, more precise. No, I said. Excuse me? No, you don't get to have them. Not like this. Not now. Her face went red. You're being childish. I'm being honest. You want those keys? Ask me nicely. Show some respect. Acknowledge that I'm not just an obstacle to be removed. Frank, my name is Mr. Mallory. I taught your husband everything he knows. I raised him. I loved him. And you've spent 6 months convincing him I'm worthless. So, no, Lena, you don't get what you want. Not tonight. Silence. People were staring now. No pretending. Lena's hand shot out. Fast, sharp. She slapped me. The sound echoed. A champagne glass broke somewhere. The string quartet stopped playing. I didn't move, just stood there. Let the moment hang. Eric rushed over. Dad, Jesus. She hit me, I said calmly. You provoked her. I refused her. There's a difference. Lena was breathing hard. Her hand was red. Mine was probably redder. But I didn't touch my face. Didn't give her the satisfaction. Get out, Eric said. Eric, I mean it. Leave. Now. I looked at my son, at the man I'd raised, the boy I'd loved, and I saw nothing but contempt. All right, I said. I pulled out my phone, dialed a number I'd memorized. Frank? Howie's voice. Come now, I said. I hung up. What was that? Eric demanded. Calling a friend. You don't get to make a scene at my wedding. I'm not making a scene. Your wife is. Lena grabbed Eric's arm. Make him leave. Dad, please. I'll leave when my ride arrives. 5 minutes. I sat back down. The room was frozen. 200 guests watching, waiting. This was better than the ceremony. This was real drama. Eric stood there, helpless, embarrassed. Finally, he grabbed Lena's hand and pulled her away. They retreated to a corner. Whispered furiously. Lena was crying, or pretending to. Hard to tell. 4 minutes later, the doors opened. Howard Pierce walked in, and the room changed. Howie was wearing jeans and a flannel shirt, work boots. His grey hair was uncombed. He looked exactly like what he was, a retired cop who didn't care about impressing anyone. But something happened when he entered. A ripple. Recognition. See, Portland's not a big city, and Howie had been a detective there for 25 years. People remembered him, especially people with money, people with secrets. I watched faces change. Lena's father went pale. A man in the corner, some investment banker type, suddenly found his drink fascinating. Even the resort manager, standing by the door, straightened up like a soldier at attention. Howie scanned the room. Found me, walked over. "Frank," he said. "Howie, thanks for coming." "Ready to go?" "In a minute." Eric was there suddenly, blocking Howie's path. "Who the hell are you?" Howie looked at him, didn't speak, just looked. It was a look I'd seen before. The one that said, "I've dealt with worse than you before breakfast." Eric actually stepped back. "He's my ride," I said. "Howard Pierce, old friend." "Pierce?" That was Lena's father. He'd materialized from across the room. "Detective Pierce?" "Retired," Howie said. "I remember you. The Hartwick investigation, 10 years ago." Silence. Lena looked at her father. "Daddy?" "Nothing, sweetheart. Old business." But his voice was tight, nervous. I smiled inside. I hadn't known about that. But Howie had layers, connections, history. That's why I'd called him. "I'm leaving," I announced to no one in particular. "Congratulations again to the happy couple. Beautiful wedding. I'm sure you'll both be very successful together. Success is what matters, right?" I stood. Howie was beside me. We started toward the door. "Wait," Eric's voice. "Dad, don't do this." I stopped, turned. "Do what?" "Whatever you're planning, I know you're angry, but this isn't the way." "I'm not planning anything. I'm just going home." "You don't have a home." That hung there, a knife in the air. "You're right," I said. "I don't. You made sure of that." "That's not—" "Eric." I walked back to him, close enough to see the boy he used to be beneath the man he'd become. "You made a choice. Put me away, out of sight, out of mind. That's fine. But choices have consequences. You'll learn that soon enough." "Is that a threat?" "It's a fact." Lena grabbed his arm. "Eric, let him go." But Eric couldn't. Something in him, maybe guilt, maybe pride, wouldn't let him just stand there. "You think you know everything," he said. "You think you're so wise. But you're just a bitter old man who can't accept that the world moved on without him." "Maybe," I said. "But at least I know who I am. Can you say the same?" His face went red. He looked like he wanted to hit me. His fist actually clenched. Howie moved, just slightly, positioned himself between us. "Frank, time to go." I nodded. We walked out. Behind us, I heard the crowd exhale. Whispers starting. The story already being formed. The crazy old father. The embarrassing scene. Poor Eric. Let them think that. Outside, the air was cold. Spring in Maine is a tease. Promises warmth, but delivers ice. "You handled that well," Howie said. "I hit her pressure points." "Lena's. And Eric's. He's embarrassed. In front of all those people. In front of his new family. That's going to eat at him." We reached my truck. Howie had parked his own beside it. A grey sedan. Forgettable. Perfect for a man who didn't want to be noticed. "What now?" he asked. "Now? Now we wait. And watch." "Frank, what you said in there, about consequences, you need to be careful." "I am being careful. Everything I'm doing is legal, ethical. I'm just helping the truth come out." He looked at me. "The truth has a way of hurting everyone, including you." I'm already hurt. What's a little more? He sighed. All right. But Frank, when this is over, however it ends, don't lose yourself in it. Too late, I said. I drove back to the cabin alone. Howie followed. We didn't talk more that night, just sat on the porch, drinking coffee, watching the woods, thinking. Around midnight, my phone rang. Eric. I let it go to voicemail. Then listened. Dad, I'm sorry about tonight. Lena's upset. She shouldn't have hit you. That was wrong, but you need to understand. This is hard for me too. Watching you age, watching you become, I don't know. Les, I don't want to put you in a home. I just want you to be safe. Can we talk, please? I deleted it. 2 minutes later, another call. This time I answered. What? Dad. His voice was different now, not apologetic, hard. What did you mean about consequences? Exactly what I said. Are you planning something? Why would you think that? Because I know you. You don't just walk away. You never have. Maybe I've changed. Bull. I smiled. He was right. I hadn't changed. I'd just learned patience. Eric, go enjoy your wedding night. Forget about me. I'm not your problem anymore. That's what scares me. Good, I said and hung up. Howie was watching me from the porch. He's worried. He should be. What's your next move? I pulled out a folder, one I'd assembled over the past 3 weeks. Documents, records, the kind of information that's public but nobody bothers to look for. Tomorrow, I said, I'm going to visit an old friend, Eleanor Grant. You remember her? The gossip columnist. She retired, but she still knows everyone in town, and everyone talks to her. You're going to plant seeds. I'm going to water gardens that are already growing. Eric and Lena have built their life on image, reputation. I'm just going to shine a light on the foundation. That's dangerous. For them. He shook his head. Frank, I'll help you. But only if you promise me one thing. What? When it's done, when you've made your point, you walk away. You don't let this consume you. I looked at him. At my oldest friend. The man who'd stood by me through everything. I promise, I lied. Because the truth was, I was already consumed. Had been since the moment Eric told me I was a problem to be solved. Some fires you can't put out. You can only watch them burn. Eleanor Grant lived in a Victorian house on Elm Street, the kind with wraparound porches and too many windows. She'd bought it 40 years ago, with her late husband's life insurance money, and turned it into a shrine to curiosity. Every surface held photographs, newspapers, books about local history. The walls were covered in framed articles from her days writing the social column for the Coastal Times. I knocked at 10 in the morning. She answered in a floral dress and pearls, like she was expecting the Queen. Frank Mallory, she said, smiling. I heard you were at Eric's wedding. Quite the scene, they say. They say a lot of things. That they do. Come in, I'll make tea. Her living room smelled like lavender and old paper. We sat in chairs that had seen better decades, and she poured Earl Grey into china cups that were older than both of us. So, she said, what brings you here? I assume it's not just social. Can't an old friend visit? An old friend can, but you're here for a reason. She sipped her tea, studied me over the rim. You want me to spread something. Not spread, just listen. To what? I pulled out the first document, a property record. Did you know Eric owns 5 properties? I'd heard he was doing well. Doing well is one thing. Overextended is another. He's leveraged to the hilt. One bad month and he loses everything. She took the paper, read it. Her eyebrows went up. This is public record. County Assessor's Office. Anyone can look it up, but nobody does. Interesting. She set it aside. What else? I showed her bank statements. Not Eric's personal accounts, those were private, but his business dealings, loans, refinancing, The kind of financial gymnastics that looked smart until you realized it was desperation. "He's robbing Peter to pay Paul," she said. "Exactly." "And Lena?" I handed her another document. "Trust fund, inaccessible until she's 35 unless she's married. She needs Eric, or someone like him." Eleanor whistled softly. "Marriage of convenience. Maybe, or maybe they love each other. But either way, they're both using this marriage to solve problems." "Why are you showing me this, Frank?" "Because people should know. Eric's selling himself as a success story, a financial advisor people trust with their money. But he can't manage his own finances. That's not just ironic, it's dangerous." She set down her cup. "You want me to ruin him. I want the truth to come out. What people do with it is up to them. Frank," she leaned forward, "I've known you since you moved here. You're not a vindictive man, but what you're doing right now, this is vindictive." "Is it vindictive to expect honesty?" "It is if your only reason is revenge." I stood up, paced to the window, looked out at the street where normal people were living normal lives, unaware that their financial advisor was drowning. "He threw me away," I said quietly, "like I was garbage, like the 34 years I spent raising him meant nothing. Do you know what that feels like? To look at your child and see a stranger?" "No, I don't have children." "Then you can't understand." "Maybe not, but I understand hurt, and I understand that hurt makes people do things they regret." I turned back to her. "I won't regret this." "Are you sure?" I wasn't, but I said, "Yes." She gathered the documents, looked at them, then at me. "I'll think about it, but Frank, be careful. Once you start down this road, it's hard to stop." "I don't want to stop. That's what worries me." I left, walked back to my truck, sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel. Eleanor was right. This was vindictive. But I didn't care. Eric had made his choice. Now I was making mine. Over the next week, things started happening. Small things, rumors, whispers. A client of Eric's mentioned something about property investments, asked if it was true Eric owned multiple mortgages. Eric laughed it off. Lena's friend made a comment about trust funds, how convenient some marriages were. Lena's smile got tight. At the hardware store, the owner mentioned he'd heard the building on Maple was being sold. "Your son's doing well, huh, Frank?" "Depends on your definition of well," I said. "Seeds. Just seeds. But seeds grow." By the second week, Eric called me again. "Dad, we need to talk." "About what?" "About whatever you're doing." "I'm not doing anything. I'm living quietly, peacefully. Isn't that what you wanted?" "People are asking questions about my business, my finances. Did you say something?" "I'm an old man living in a cabin. Who would I tell?" "I'm serious." "So am I." Silence. Then he said, "If you're trying to hurt me, it's working." "Good," I said and hung up. That night, Howie asked me how I felt. "Satisfied," I said. "That's not the same as happy." "No, but it's something." He nodded. Didn't judge. That's why he was my friend. "What's next?" he asked. "I'm going to visit Eric's office, see how his colleagues view him." "Frank, relax. I'm not going to make a scene. I'm just going to ask questions. See what people say when they think nobody's listening." Howie sighed. "You're going to destroy him, aren't you?" "I'm going to reveal him. There's a difference." "Is there?" I didn't answer, because honestly, I wasn't sure anymore. Coastal Wealth Management occupied the third floor of a building on Main Street, the kind of place that smelled like new carpet and ambition. Glass walls, modern art, a receptionist who smiled like she was paid to. "Can I help you?" she asked. "I'm here to see Eric Mallory." "Do you have an appointment?" "I'm his father." That changed things. She hesitated, checked her computer. "He's with a client right now, but I can have him call you when he's free." "I'll wait." She didn't like that, but she nodded and gestured to the waiting area. Leather couches, financial magazines, a water cooler that probably cost more than my truck. I sat, picked up a magazine, pretended to read. Around me, the office buzzed, phones ringing, people walking past, young professionals in sharp suits, talking about portfolios and market trends like they were discussing the weather. After 20 minutes, a man sat down next to me, mid-40s, good suit, confident smile. "You're Eric's father," he said. "Frank. Tom Anderson. I work with Eric." He extended his hand. I shook it. "He's mentioned you." "Has he?" "Said you used to teach literature. That must have been rewarding." "It had its moments. I bet." He leaned back, casual, too casual. "So what brings you here? Everything okay?" "Just wanted to see where Eric works. He talks about this place all the time." Lie. Eric barely talked to me, but Tom didn't know that. "It's a good firm," Tom said. "Eric's doing well, one of our top advisors." "That's good to hear. He's always been ambitious." "Ambitious is one word for it." Tom smiled, but there was something underneath. "He's aggressive, goes after big clients, sometimes takes risks." "Risks? You know, in terms of investment strategies. He likes high-reward opportunities. Not everyone appreciates that." I filed that away. "I'm sure he knows what he's doing." "Oh, absolutely. He's smart, very smart. Just, sometimes I wonder if he's too smart, you know?" "What do you mean?" Tom hesitated, glanced around, lowered his voice. "Look, I probably shouldn't say this, but Eric's been under pressure lately. Financial pressure. He took on a lot of debt. The house, the wedding. He's stretching himself thin." "How do you know?" "Office talk. We all know each other's business. It's a small firm. And when someone's stressed, it shows." "Is he in trouble?" "Not yet. But if the market shifts, if clients start pulling out, he could be." I nodded, absorbing this. "Thanks for telling me. Just thought you should know, as his father." Eric appeared then, saw me. His face went through emotions again. Surprise, annoyance, and something else. Fear. "Dad, what are you doing here?" "Visiting? That a problem?" "No, you didn't call." "Didn't think I needed permission." Tom stood. "I'll let you two talk. Good meeting you, Frank." "You too, Tom." Tom walked away. Eric watched him go, then turned to me. "What did he say to you?" "Nothing much, just being friendly." "Dad." "What?" "We were making conversation." "What kind of conversation?" I smiled. "The kind where I learned you're doing great. Top advisor, taking risks, making moves." His jaw tightened. "Let's talk in my office." His office was small but nice, window view, desk with 2 computer monitors. Photos of him and Lena on the credenza. No photos of me. He closed the door. "What are you doing?" "I told you, visiting." "You're checking up on me." "Why would I do that?" "Because you're trying to sabotage me. I know you, Dad. You're not letting this go." "Letting what go?" "The apartment, the nursing home, everything." I sat down, uninvited. "Eric, you're my son. I wanted to see where you work. Is that so strange?" "Yes, because you've never cared before." That stung, because it was true. I'd never visited his office, never asked about his day. After Sarah died, I'd retreated into myself, and by the time I came out, Eric was already grown and distant. "Maybe I should have cared more," I said. "But I'm here now." "It's too late." "Is it?" He looked at me, really looked. And for a second, I saw the boy again, the one who used to sit at the kitchen table, doing homework while I graded papers. The one who'd come to me when he was scared or confused or needed advice. Then it was gone. "Dad, I don't know what you're trying to prove, but you need to stop. People are talking, asking questions. It's affecting my business." "What people?" "Clients, colleagues. Someone heard you were spreading rumors." "I haven't spread anything. I've just been honest when people ask me questions." "About what?" "About you. Your finances, your life, things that are public record. Why? Because you wanted me erased, forgotten. But I'm still here, Eric, and I'm not going quietly. He stood up, paced. This is insane. You're insane. Maybe, or maybe I'm just a father who's tired of being invisible. You're not invisible, you're just... He stopped himself. Just what? Nothing. Say it. You're just... in the way. There it was, the truth, raw and ugly. I stood up. Thank you for finally being honest. Dad, don't. You've said enough. I walked out, past the receptionist, past the glass walls and modern art, into the street where the air didn't feel quite so suffocating. Behind me, I heard Eric call my name. I didn't turn around. That night, I got a call from Eleanor. Frank, I've been thinking about those documents you showed me. And I'm going to write about it, not a hit piece, just an article about financial advisors and transparency. But I'll mention Eric, by name, as an example. When? Next week in the weekly paper. Thank you. Don't thank me. This might blow up in ways you don't expect. I'm counting on it. She hung up. I sat there, phone in hand, thinking about what I'd just set in motion. Howie came in, looked at me. You okay? No. Want to talk about it? No. He nodded, sat down. We stayed like that for a while, two old men in the quiet, preparing for a storm. Eleanor's article came out on a Thursday, front page of the Coastal Times weekly edition. The headline read, "The Cost of Success, Our Local Financial Advisors Overextended." It was fair, balanced, mentioned several advisors, not just Eric. But Eric's name was there, along with public records showing his property holdings and debt ratios. Nothing private, nothing illegal, just facts. By Friday, my phone was ringing. First call was Eleanor. Frank, it started. What has? Eric's been calling, angry, threatening to sue for defamation. I told him everything's public record. He hung up on me. Second call was Howie. You need to see this. He sent me a link. Local news blog. Someone had picked up Eleanor's article and expanded it, added commentary, speculation about Eric's business practices, whether he was qualified to handle other people's money when he couldn't handle his own. Third call was Eric. You did this. Did what? The article, the rumors, all of it. I gave Eleanor information, public information. What she did with it is her choice. You're destroying me. I'm revealing you. There's a difference. I could lose my job. My clients are panicking. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you threw me away. Silence. Heavy. Angry. Then he said, I'm coming over. I'm not at the apartment. I know. Howie Pierce's place. I figured it out. I'm coming there. He hung up. I looked at Howie. He's on his way. Want me to stay? No, this needs to be between us. Frank, if he gets violent... He won't. He's not that kind of man. People change when they're desperate. Then I'll change too. Howie left reluctantly, took his truck and parked down the road, close enough to help if needed, far enough to give us space. 30 minutes later, Eric's Mercedes pulled up. He got out, slamming the door, marched up to the cabin. I was waiting on the porch. Dad. Eric. He stood there, breathing hard. Suit rumpled, hair messy. He looked like he hadn't slept. Why are you doing this? He asked. You know why. Because I wanted to put you in a home. Because I was worried about you. Because you wanted me gone, out of your life, out of your way. That's not... Stop lying. To me. To yourself. You wanted me erased so you could keep building this fantasy life with Lena. But fantasies have cracks, and I'm just showing people where they are. He stepped closer. You're ruining everything. You ruined it first, when you stopped seeing me as your father and started seeing me as a problem. I didn't have a choice. Everyone has a choice. You don't understand. Lena's family. The expectations. The pressure. I need to be successful. I need to look like I have everything together. Even if you don't. Even if I don't. He laughed, bitter. You think I wanted this? Any of this? I'm drowning, Dad, in debt, in expectations, in this life that's supposed to be perfect, but feels like a prison. I softened. Just slightly. Then stop. Walk away from it. I can't. I've invested everything. If I fail now, I lose it all. Then maybe you deserve to lose it. That broke something in him. His hands clenched. His face went red. How dare you? How dare I? You're the one who chose status over family, money over honesty. You built this life on quicksand and expected me to just disappear so you wouldn't have to admit it. I was trying to protect you. From what? From seeing your life fall apart? I'm your father. I'm supposed to be there when things fall apart. You were never there. That stopped me. What? After Mum died, you weren't there. You were physically present, but emotionally, you were gone. I had to figure everything out alone. College, career, life. And now, when I finally need help, you're tearing me down instead. I felt something crack inside, because he was right. After Sarah died, I'd retreated. Depression, grief. I'd gone through the motions of parenting but hadn't really been present. And Eric, barely 18, had been left to navigate adulthood alone. I'm sorry, I said quietly. He blinked. What? I'm sorry, you're right. I wasn't there, not the way I should have been, and that's on me. He looked like he'd been slapped. You never apologize. I should have, a long time ago. We stood there, father and son, both damaged, both wrong. Then Eric said, "But that doesn't excuse what you're doing now." No, it doesn't. Just like my failures don't excuse yours. I'm trying to make things right. By destroying me? By exposing my business? By turning people against me? By showing people the truth. The same truth you've been hiding from. I'm not hiding from anything. Yes, you are. You're hiding from the fact that your success is an illusion, that your marriage might be a transaction, that you're not the man you pretend to be. His fist shot out. Fast. Unexpected. I ducked. Barely. Felt the wind of it pass my face. We stared at each other, both shocked. Get off my property, I said. You don't have property. You live in someone else's cabin. Then get away from me. He turned to leave, then stopped. I'm not done with you, Dad. You think you've won? You haven't. I'm going to fight back, and when I do, you're going to regret this. I already regret it, I said, but I'm not stopping. He drove away, tires kicking up dirt. Howie came back 5 minutes later. You all right? No. He tried to hit you? Almost. What stopped him? Reflex, and maybe a tiny bit of respect still left. Howie sat down. Frank, this is escalating, fast. You need to decide how far you're willing to go. As far as it takes. Even if it destroys both of you. I didn't answer. Because I didn't know. Eric fought back. Of course he did. Within a week, he'd hired a PR consultant, someone who specialized in reputation management. They put out a statement. Eric Mallory responds to recent speculation about his financial stability. All properties properly financed. All business dealings transparent. Unfortunate family situation, creating unfounded rumors. Family situation. That was me. Reduced to a euphemism. Then came the social media posts. Lena's Instagram. Pictures of their perfect life. Dinner parties. Charity events. Smiling photos with captions about gratitude and overcoming challenges. It was all theatre. But people bought it. Eleanor called. He's good. I'll give him that. He's spinning this as a family conflict, not a business problem. What does that mean? It means people are sympathizing with him. The poor son dealing with a difficult father. It's working. So I'm the villain now. In his story, yes. I hung up, sat there, realized I'd underestimated Eric. He'd learned more from me than I thought. how to tell a story, how to control the narrative. But I had something he didn't: patience and facts. I spent the next 3 days gathering more information, not rumors, not speculation, hard evidence, tax returns, public record from his business filings. They showed inconsistencies, write-offs that seemed questionable, expenses that didn't quite add up, property records showing he'd refinanced 3 times in 2 years, each time pulling more equity out. Legal, but desperate. And then I found something interesting: a lawsuit, filed 6 months ago by a former client, settled out of court, sealed records. But the case number was public. I called Howie. "Can you pull sealed court records?" "Depends. How sealed?" "Settlement agreement, civil case." "Maybe, if I use the right contacts." "Why?" "Because Eric settled a lawsuit, and I want to know what he was hiding." 2 days later, Howie had it. Not the full record, but enough. A summary from someone who owed him a favor. The client had accused Eric of unauthorized trading, moving funds without permission. It wasn't proven, but Eric had settled for $40,000 rather than fight it. "This is big," Howie said. "This is everything. Frank, if you use this, Eric's career is over." "Good. You sure? Because once you do this, there's no going back. He'll never forgive you." "He already hasn't." I took the information to Eleanor. She read it, went pale. "Frank, this is serious. If this is true..." "It's true, documented, settled." "Why settle if he was innocent?" "Exactly." She set the papers down. "I can't print this. It's not my area, but I know someone. Investigative journalist, Portland Press Herald. She'd be interested." "Make the call." "Frank, once this goes statewide, it's done. Eric won't just lose clients. He'll lose everything." He should have thought about that before he threw me away. She made the call. The journalist's name was Rebecca Marsh. We met at a coffee shop in Portland. She was young, sharp, skeptical. "Why are you doing this?" she asked after I showed her everything. "Because he needs to be held accountable." "For bad business practices, or for being a bad son?" "Both." She studied me. "You understand, this looks like revenge." "It is revenge, but that doesn't make it false." She appreciated the honesty. "I'll look into it. If it checks out, I'll run it. But if I find out you fabricated anything, I'll write about that too." "Fair enough." She ran it. 2 weeks later, front page. Local financial advisor faces questions about past settlement and current practices. The article was devastating, detailed, fair but brutal. It included Eric's settlement, his debt load, quotes from former colleagues questioning his judgment. It even mentioned the PR campaign as an attempt to deflect. Within 24 hours, Eric's firm put him on administrative leave, pending investigation. Within 48 hours, 3 more clients filed complaints. Within 72 hours, Eric and Lena's house went up for sale. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I felt hollow. Howie found me on the porch. "You did it. He's destroyed." "Yeah. So why do you look like that?" "Like what?" "Like you just lost instead of won." I didn't answer. That night, Eric called. I almost didn't pick up, but something made me. "Dad." His voice was broken, defeated. "Eric, I lost my job. My license is under review. Lena's talking about leaving. We're selling the house. I'm bankrupt. You happy now?" "No." "Liar." "I'm not lying. I'm not happy. But I'm not sorry either." Silence. Then, "Why? Just tell me why." "Because you treated me like I was nothing. Like 34 years of raising you meant nothing. Like I was a problem to be discarded." "So you destroyed my life." "You destroyed mine first. I just returned the favor." "I was trying to help you." "No, you were trying to help yourself, and you expected me to be grateful for it." He was crying now. I could hear it. "I'm your son." "I know, that's what makes this hurt." "Then stop. Please. Call off your dogs. Tell that journalist to back off. I'll make it right. I'll fix things with you. How? By putting me in a home? By pretending I matter when we both know I don't? You matter. You always mattered. Then why did it take me destroying you to hear you say it? He had no answer. I hung up, sat there, phone in hand, wondering if I'd gone too far. Howie sat down beside me. You could stop now. You've made your point. Have I? He's broken. Isn't that enough? I don't know. Frank, when does it end? I thought about that, about Eric crying, about his life falling apart, about the boy I'd raised and the man he'd become. It ends, I said, when he understands what he did to me. Really understands. And how will you know when that happens? I won't. Howie shook his head. Then this never ends. You'll keep pushing until there's nothing left, of him, or you. Maybe. That's not justice, Frank, that's just pain. Pain is all I have left. He stood up, looked down at me. No, you have choices. You can keep going, or you can stop. But either way, you need to decide what kind of man you want to be when this is over. He went inside, left me alone with my thoughts. I sat there until morning, thinking, remembering, trying to figure out who I'd become. And I realized something. Howie was right. This wasn't justice anymore. It was just cruelty, dressed up as righteousness, but cruelty all the same. I pulled out my phone, called Rebecca Marsh. I need you to stop, I said. Stop what? The investigation, the articles, all of it. Why? We're just getting started. There's more to this story. I know, but I'm done. Eric's learned his lesson, or he hasn't. Either way, I'm not doing this anymore. Mr. Mallory, you can't just turn this off. The story's out there. Then let it die naturally, but don't feed it anymore, please. She was quiet, then said, All right, but Frank, whatever you were trying to accomplish, I hope it was worth it. Me too, I said and hung up. I called Eric. No answer. Left a message. Eric, it's me. I'm stopping. No more articles. No more sabotage. It's done. Not because you deserve mercy, but because I do. I don't want to be this person anymore. The vengeful father, the bitter old man. I want to be someone who can look at himself without feeling sick. So it's done. What happens next is up to you. I hung up, felt lighter and heavier, both at once. Howie came out. You stopped. I stopped. Why? Because you were right. This was eating me alive, and I don't want to be consumed by hate. What about Eric? What about him? He'll rebuild, or he won't, but that's his choice, not mine. Howie smiled. There's the Frank I remember. I'm not sure I remember him. Then maybe it's time to figure out who you are now. I nodded, looked out at the woods. The sun was rising, a new day, and for the first time in months, I felt like maybe I could face it. I was wrong about the mercy. 3 days after I called off Rebecca Marsh, Eric showed up at Howie's cabin, not angry this time, not broken either. Something worse. Calculated. Dad, we need to talk. We've talked enough. Not about this. He pulled out a folder, thick, official-looking. I've been doing some research about you. That surprised me. What kind of research? The kind you did on me. Bank records, property history, medical records. Medical records are private. So were my settlement documents. Didn't stop you. Fair point. He opened the folder, started reading. Frank Mallory, 62, retired teacher, pension of $1,800 a month, savings account with $12,000, no outstanding debts. But here's the interesting part. You've been living rent-free at Howie Pierce's cabin for almost 2 months. No lease agreement, no official residency, which means legally, you're homeless. Get to the point. The point is, you destroyed my life, my career, my marriage, and I'm going to return the favor. How? I don't have anything to destroy. Don't you? He pulled out another document. Competency hearing, filed yesterday. I'm claiming you're not capable of managing your own affairs, that you're exhibiting erratic behavior, revenge-driven thinking, possible early dementia. I laughed, actually laughed. You think that'll work? I'm not senile. No, but you are homeless, isolated. You've been manipulating people, spreading information, acting obsessively. A judge might agree you need supervision. You son of a... I learned from the best. He stood up. If this hearing goes through, I become your legal guardian. I control your pension, your savings, your medical decisions, everything. That's insane. That's justice. You wanted to show me consequences? Here they are. He walked to his car, turned back. The hearing's in 2 weeks. Prepare yourself. He drove away. I stood there, stunned, then angry, then scared. Howie came out. What just happened? He's trying to have me declared incompetent. Can he do that? I don't know. Maybe. I'm not a lawyer. We need a lawyer. We found one. Janet Kimball. Local attorney. Smart. Expensive. She reviewed Eric's filing. This is thin, she said, but not impossible. He's claiming erratic behavior, homelessness, isolation. If he can prove you've been acting irrationally... I haven't been irrational. I've been deliberate. Revenge-driven is irrational in the eyes of the court. So what do I do? We fight. Show you're stable, employed, responsible. But Frank, you need to understand, Eric's going for the throat. This isn't just about winning, it's about making you suffer. Then he's learned his lesson well. The next 2 weeks were hell. Preparing, documenting, proving I was competent. It felt absurd, like I was on trial for being human. Janet gathered evidence, statements from Howie, from Eleanor, even from my old colleagues at the school. Everyone testified I was sharp, clear-minded, capable. But Eric had evidence too. The articles, the revenge campaign, my own words, turned against me. He painted a picture of a bitter old man who'd lost touch with reality, obsessed with destroying his son. It was effective, because parts of it were true. The hearing was in Portland. Family court. Small room. Judge Thompson presiding. A woman in her 50s with grey hair and no patience for nonsense. Eric testified first, calm, sad. Explained how worried he was about me, how I'd been exhibiting strange behavior, obsessing over perceived slights, orchestrating a campaign to ruin him. I love my father, he said, but I'm scared for him. He's not himself. He needs help. It was a masterful performance. I almost believed it. Then Janet cross-examined. Mr. Mallory, you claim your father is incompetent, yet he managed to research public records, coordinate with journalists, execute a complex plan over several months. Does that sound like incompetence? Eric hesitated. It sounds like obsession. Or intelligence. Obsessive intelligence is still a problem. Is it? Or is it just intelligence you don't like? The judge cut in. Counselor, move on. I testified next. Kept it simple. Explained my side, the eviction, the wedding, the humiliation. I didn't defend the revenge, but I didn't apologize either. Your Honor, I said, my son thinks I'm incompetent because I fought back, but fighting back isn't insanity, it's survival. Judge Thompson listened, took notes, asked questions. Then she called a recess. We waited 2 hours. Janet paced. I sat. Eric and his lawyer whispered. Finally, the judge returned. I've reviewed the evidence, the testimonies, the documents, and I've reached a decision. Everyone leaned forward. Mr. Eric Mallory's petition for guardianship is denied. I exhaled. Eric's face went white. However, the judge continued, I'm concerned about both of you. This family conflict has escalated to destructive levels. I'm ordering mandatory mediation, 6 sessions. You will attend together. Work through your issues with a professional. Failure to attend will result in sanctions. Am I clear? Yes, Your Honor, we both said. She banged her gavel. This hearing is adjourned. Outside the courthouse, Eric caught up to me. You won, he said. We both lost. What's that supposed to mean? It means we've destroyed each other. And for what? Pride? Revenge? Was it worth it? He looked at me. For the first time in months, really looked. I don't know. Me neither. We stood there, father and son, broken but not beaten. Mediation starts next week, he said. I'll be there. Yeah? Yeah. He nodded, walked away, got in his car, drove off. Howie appeared. That was close. Too close. What now? Now? Now we try to fix what I broke, if that's even possible. It's possible, but it'll take work. I'm tired, Howie. So tired. I know, but you don't get to quit. Not yet. We drove back to the cabin. The sun was setting. The woods were quiet. And for the first time in months, I felt like maybe, just maybe, there was a way forward. Even if I couldn't see it yet. Mediation was hell. 6 sessions of sitting in a small room with Eric, a therapist named Dr. Lisa Chen facilitating, trying to untangle months of rage. The first session, we barely spoke, just sat there, hostile. The second, we screamed. Eric about betrayal. Me about abandonment. Dr. Chen let us, said we needed to vent. By the third session, we started talking. Really talking. Why did you really want to put me in a home? I asked. Eric was quiet, then said, because I was scared. Of what? Of losing you, of watching you get old and die, of not being able to save you. That hit me. Hard. So you tried to control it, I said. Yeah, I thought if I could put you somewhere safe, I wouldn't have to worry. But you didn't ask me what I wanted. No, I didn't. Why not? Because I was afraid you'd say no, and then I'd have to watch you suffer and do nothing. I understood then. It wasn't malice. It was fear, misguided, selfish, but fear. I know. But after Mum, I couldn't handle the thought of losing you too. So you pushed me away first. Yeah, we sat with that. Dr. Chen didn't interrupt, just let it breathe. Finally I said, I'm sorry too. Eric looked up. For what? For what I did, the revenge, the destruction. I was hurt, angry, but that doesn't excuse it. You destroyed my life. I know, and I'll regret that forever. Will you? Yes, because whatever else happened, you're still my son. And I love you, even when I hate you. He cried then, not the broken crying from before, something deeper, grief, for what we'd lost, what we'd done to each other. By session 5, we were talking about the future. What came next? I'm starting over, Eric said. New job, smaller firm, less pressure. Lena and I are in counselling too, trying to figure out if we can make it work. Think you can? I don't know, but I want to try. That's something. What about you? Where will you go? I don't know yet. Howie says I can stay as long as I need, but I should find my own place. Start my own new chapter. You could come live with us, once we figure things out. I shook my head. No, that's not the answer. We need space, distance, to heal. How much distance? Enough that we can choose to be in each other's lives, not forced, not obligated, chosen. He nodded, understanding. Session 6 was our last. Dr. Chen asked if we had anything final to say. Eric spoke first. Dad, I was wrong. About everything, the nursing home, the eviction, the way I treated you. You didn't deserve that. No, I didn't. Can you forgive me? I thought about that, about forgiveness, what it meant, what it cost. Eventually, I said, not today, not tomorrow, but eventually, if you show me you mean it. How do I do that? By being my son again, not my manager, not my problem solver, just my son. I can do that. Then we'll figure it out. We shook hands. It felt formal, awkward, but it was a start. Outside, the spring had turned to summer. The town was coming alive again. Tourists, locals, life moving forward. I moved out of Howie's cabin in July, found a small apartment near the harbour. 1 bedroom, water view, affordable. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Eric called once a week. Sometimes we talked. Sometimes we just existed on the line, breathing. Lena and Eric stayed together, sold the big house, bought something smaller, more honest. They seemed happier, or at least less miserable. I started teaching again. Part-time, community college, adult education, people who actually wanted to learn. It felt good, like coming home. Eleanor stopped by one afternoon, brought coffee. We sat on my tiny balcony. "You did it," she said. "Did what?" "Survived. Both of you." "Barely. Surviving is enough." "Is it?" "It's more than most people do." She was right. In September, Eric invited me to dinner, at their new house, just the 3 of us. Me, Eric, Lena. It was awkward, polite. We talked about safe things, weather, work, the town. But at the end, as I was leaving, Eric hugged me, really hugged me, the way he used to when he was a kid. "Thanks for coming," he said. "Thanks for inviting me." "Next month?" "Next month." I drove home, past the old apartment on Maple, past the Ocean View Resort, past all the places where we'd hurt each other. And I realized something. Revenge hadn't fixed anything. It had just revealed what was already broken. But maybe that was necessary. Maybe we needed to break completely before we could rebuild. Or maybe I was just telling myself that to feel better about what I'd done. Either way, it was over. The war, the rage, the need to hurt him because he'd hurt me. We weren't fixed. We weren't even close. But we were trying. And that was something. Howie called that night. "How'd it go?" "Better than expected." "Good, you sound better." "I feel better, lighter." "That's what happens when you stop carrying hate." "Yeah." "Frank?" "Yeah?" "I'm proud of you, for stopping, for trying. That took courage." "Thanks, Howie." "Anytime." I hung up, looked out at the harbour, the boats, the water, the endless, forgiving sea, and I thought about everything. What I'd gained, what I'd lost, what I'd become. I wasn't the man I'd been, that Frank died when Eric told him he was going into a home. But I wasn't the vengeful ghost either. The one who'd tried to destroy his own son. I was something in between. Older, wiser, scarred, but still here, still breathing, still trying. And maybe that was enough. Maybe survival was the only victory that mattered.